And here we go. Welcome in to another edition of Bucky and BK. Today is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. And the Buck and I are with y'all for the next 2 hours. On today's show, a tip for kids in the car line. We'll get to that right off the bat. We'll see what the Buck has in store for the kiddos today. Plenty of Texas football conversation. More sound from Steve Sarkisian's post-scrimmage press conference on Saturday. Also some sound from Steve Sarkisian's Monday media availability yesterday. Plenty of practice takeaways and insider notes as we sit just 11 days away from the 2026 season opener. We'll get into some NFL conversation as well. The Texans making an interesting trade for a wide receiver yesterday. We'll go around to the SEC with our guy Chris Phillips as we do each and every Tuesday. We'll talk about some of the big headlines from around the conference. Little Texas volleyball to get into. More on the craziness out of Baton Rouge involving LSU. And, of course, the BBK news and why today's not so bad. We are locked, we are loaded, and we are ready to roll on a Tuesday program. We appreciate y'all spending some of your Tuesdays with us. How are you today, my man?
Hey, cooler morning. It was a little cooler this morning. Only reason I say that is because my wife got up at 5:15 and went for a walk. So I was thinking if she didn't walk, then it was probably just still too humid. But she went out and said it feels a little cooler in the morning. I said, okay, when will that end? She goes, by the time you start your show, that'll be over with. It'll be 97 by the time you start the show this morning. So, and that went out. It is a little cooler, but that's okay. We know what's in store for us for the day and tomorrow and the next day, except for this Friday. I think we're going to get some rain. That's right. Thursday, possibly Friday, rain. Buck is calling it.
All right. That's 2 days in a row you've put in the call for some rain this Friday. So yeah. Yesterday I wasn't sure I believed you, but now you're doubling down.
I mean, it could be happening Thursday night. That's, so that'll count. That'll work for people for Friday. They'll be excited about that, I would think.
Hey, you get that grace period, 24-hour grace period. You've tried to make it a 72-hour grace period.
I have tried to stretch that bad boy out before.
Yeah, you have. But hey, all right. It feels like we could use some precipitation. So we'll see if you're right. I know there's some high school games this Friday that could potentially be affected by that. But all right, maybe something to cool it down. We'll take it.
Yeah, I had my day, an early thank you to my friends, of course, at Early Bird CBD, because I had a double MRI yesterday. I mean, a double one. One where you go in the machine. I was thinking I was going to go in for 45 minutes, come back out, take a deep breath, and go back in again. But this was one in one sitting. I was in the machine for 45 minutes, and they took a spinal. They did my thoracic back, and then they did a cervical X-ray, and that sound in there, BK. I don't know how I've done it before, but the last 2 times that I've been in an MRI machine, I finally put headsets on. Generally, I take the, because I can hear real good, but, the pounding sound, I just kind of lay back to the rhythm of that and figure it out. Well, the last 2 times I've had headphones on, and thank goodness I needed it yesterday for 45 minutes in that thing. That sound was loud. But I came out of it, and my back just a little teeny bit sore. Man, 45 minutes on that, come up to my lab and see what's on the slab. I mean, I felt like I was on a slab in there with my hands beside me in that tunnel. And if you're claustrophobic, that is not the place for 45 minutes.
Are you okay, first and foremost?
Oh, yeah. They didn't have anything to tell me. They'll tell my orthopedic guy, my Texas orthopedic guy, what's going on, because he's trying to figure out a way to alleviate, this 20-some years of pain by putting some implant into my spinal area. And, in my mind, I've already no thanks. Just give me my normal back pain and let's move along. I've done it for 20 years. I know how to deal with this. Your new techniques, no, but there's a certain lower pain that's in my lower area above my hip where the nerve relaxes into a hole. But if that thing squeezes that nerve, that pain down there, if anybody's had lower back pain where you can't move for like 3 days, that I can't take. So, and he talks about a procedure, because we're calling it the word procedure, not surgery, procedure that opens that up and that nerve rests in there a little bit better to alleviate that pain. That, if he says, is it still a go, I'm going with that. But when you start talking about where a guy did surgery over 20-some years ago in my thoracic, I'm like, nah, you're not going up near my spine up top. We're not doing that. And as my wife says, just listen to what the doctor says. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what he says. Nobody's going and putting implants in near my spine. I'm not doing that.
Oh, you're getting breast implants, huh?
No, I'm not getting any implants. I'm not buying into. I won't buy into that. I don't care what modern medicine has done, and it can numb the nerve where you don't have the. I'm fine with the pain. I'm used to it.
All right. Well, just listening to this is putting me in pain.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird, but it's fine. All right, kids, you ready?
Well, do you want to do the soldier shout out first?
Yes, I'll say good day to the soldiers at Fort Hood, Texas, the soldiers in the state of Texas, and all those that fight for us each and every day. You do it through pain, sleet, snow, and everything. We do appreciate what you do for all of us. And to you and your families, please stay safe out there.
All right, what you got for the kiddos today?
All right, some schools are going into second or even third week of school. So you still have those wandering kids, that wander around school, that are looking up, walking in the lockers, things like that. So it is, it's time for you upperclassmen, and I'm calling upperclassmen even starting in your sophomore year. You're already out of your freshman year. Today, I'd like to make National Take a Freshman to Lunch Day. Take a freshman to lunch. You'll see them wandering. You'll know who they are, guys and gals. You cheerleaders too. You know the ones that are wandering around, wondering, where am I? And it's the third week of school, and they're still trying to figure out. And there may be one or two wandering around with them. So today, take a freshman to lunch with you. Ask that wandering soul and their buddy, hey, come over and have lunch with us. Now, this is not an everyday thing. I know you're too cool to bring a freshman to lunch with you every day, invite him to lunch, but you can do it for a day. So make this the day you know that kid. You see him every stinking day, and it's probably more than one. He's probably wandering around with his buddies, walking into lockers and wondering, almost going into the girls' bathroom or whatever. So just say, listen, why don't you and your boys come over and sit with us for lunch today? This is the day. This is the day to take a freshman to lunch. And no, I don't need you. I don't know the little grade schoolers here. Do me a favor. I don't need you fourth and fifth graders asking a first grader to come to lunch with you. That's for their mom. Let them wander around. They need to wander around for a while. Okay, so there's no reason that this is not for fourth and fifth graders asking the first grade, their first year in first grade, to come to lunch with them. Let them be the ones wandering around. They can find their way. Let them find their way. But the freshmen in high school are the ones, BK. When you were a freshman, this was for me. This was, I got the initiation of football. That was the banana in the tailpipe, where I had to put a banana with a pair of gray shorts and walk through the lunch line, hold that banana in my tailpipe. And if I dropped it, I had to go all the way back to the beginning, put the banana in there and walk from the lunch line through, get my lunch, and then come to the table. So I know that was my initiation before the first football game of wearing the gray shorts and the banana. How comes I held that banana in there so tightly and it never fell out the first time?
It's almost like you had done it before.
that's what I think. That's what the guys, the upperclassmen, when I got over there, how'd you do this the first time? Why is that thing so firmly embedded in that tailpipe like that? I'm like, I don't know.
Is that part of your tip for kids?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that was my initiation too. I guess that was the nice hazing. I'm not saying haze anybody, but my tip is to bring somebody to lunch with you, with your group, that you're comfortable enough to say, hey, come over here and have a lunch with us today. And as I said, it's generally some freshman, some young guy who's running around, but it's more than one of them. It's generally they run in packs too. So it's generally like 3 or 4 of them that they just still look lost third week into school.
Hey, kids, if you want your friends to think you're cool, just stick a banana between your legs and walk around class today. Everyone will love you.
They will think
kids.
Yeah, that was, I'm not saying go haze somebody. Have respect for your classmates. Have respect for your teammates. Don't do that. Some kids can't take it. Some kids don't want to take it. They don't want that done to them. So, but there'll be others that will get their little initiations, whether it's in their group, their group. It happens.
All
So
right.
I was okay with it. Back in the day, that didn't seem like very much. It was a little bit embarrassing to be at my Catholic school with everybody had their uniform on, and I had a pair of grays on walking through the lunch line with a banana stuck in my butt.
It's interesting. I was able to recently catch up with one of your former classmates, and I asked about that story, and he was like, yeah, Bucky did that on his own. We didn't ask him to do it. He just
As a matter of fact, he had a half dozen in there and didn't drop a one.
That was my investigative journalism.
Oh,
right
see,
there.
that's a great journalism school. Way to go.
Yeah, trying to find the origin of that story to see if it was actually true. And, well, it turns out, no, that wasn't a hazing ritual. That was just a voluntary by you.
That was one of Bucky's stretching exercises that he was trying to show everybody. But yeah, take a kid. You'll see a kid wandering around, weeks into school, BK, they still look lost. They should know where their classes are, but they still just kind of wander around the halls, the last to go into a class. Take that kid. You guys take that kid. Don't be the mean girl. Come on, girls. You can do the same thing. That little freshman girl is not going to take your boyfriend away from you. You can get back at her later if that be the case, but let her know that you guys are socially minded and want to take them and make sure they're doing okay in class and doing okay in the school.
What a start to a Tuesday show.
Take a freshman to lunch day.
I like it. All right. Tip for Kids brought to you by our friends at Relax the Back.
I saw before school all started weeks ago, where one of the traditions at a high school, I think it may have been in the state of Texas, was where your mom had to take you to school, BK, and there were a line of kids waiting outside the school, and mom dropped you off, and you had to hug your mom or show your mom affection before you went into class. That was one of the deals at the high school. That was cool. That was cool. And there were some moms that, of course, hugged you in the car, and the kids are like, "Come on, mom, that's long enough." And there were some mothers that would get out of the car, go all the way around, open up the door for their kid, and when their sons got out, they gave them a hug, and they got the clapping and everything. It was kind of cool. I thought that was okay. You would have freaked out if your mom would have had to take you the first day if you're a freshman. And can you imagine that?
That's pretty embarrassing, right? Getting a public hug from mom when you're in high school. That's like,
how about the hug and a kiss on the cheek? I think that was awesome. That's a ritual that they did at this high school. I think it was in the state of Texas too.
There you go. Well, thankfully I didn't go to high school there. Just kidding. Love you, Mom, if you're tuned in. All right. Well, let's dive into the sports conversation here on a Tuesday. We'll start with some sound from Steve Sarkisian. Look, we talked about it yesterday. The Longhorns held their second scrimmage of fall camp over the weekend. And for the second consecutive scrimmage, the Texas defense won the day. And Steve Sarkisian, in his post-practice availability on Saturday, talked about the offense looking sloppy, too many turnovers, too many penalties, just not looking the way that he had hoped. And you and I discussed yesterday how it feels like perhaps a little deja vu with where we were at this time last year. Sark, with a regular Monday media availability, was asked for a little bit more details on kind of what went wrong on the offensive side of the football in this past weekend scrimmage.
I felt like offensively, from an improvement standpoint, there were too many simple MAs. And when I say MAs, I'm referring to missed assignments, things that we have done well for 2.5 weeks' time. And then all of a sudden we got into that arena and we made some mistakes that were uncharacteristic to us. So we've got to get to the bottom of that. And too many times I use the term, we played mindless football offensively. We were running plays rather than playing football in a competitive setting, playing the game of football. It's different when you're in practice and it's all scripted and you run the play, whatever happens, the ball goes to the right hash and you run the next play. When you get in a scrimmage, you're trying to make it as game-like as possible. There's consequences for not doing things right. It may be a sack. It may be a false start. It may be a missed block, whatever that looks like. We can't play mindless football when we get into scrimmage and game settings. We need to apply the game to the play and the play to the game. And so I think those are things that are easily fixable for us, but we have to be intentional with our ability to fix those things to get that done.
Yeah, that's all a part of poise. I mean, he would like for them to have some poise when you're going up against one of the better defenses in college football. Have some poise, please. Don't be in such a panic situation. He means they're panicking. More than sloppy, they're panicky and they're not poised right now. And that scares you when you got a quarterback who should have his team poised. But once again, I'm going to say it. If you're missing 2 offensive linemen, BK, and one of them is an All-American, the other one has played a lot of football, and they haven't got together yet on that left side, it's not easy. Hell, we saw that group last year, and they jumped off, and they were jumping and jumpy and nervous and everything else. The quarterback was young, but the quarterback needs to have if Sark then came back and said, but Arch was all over them about that, about being poised, and it's not just me, but it's the quarterback. That's what I'd love to hear, that the guy who's leading the pack, breaking the huddle, is the guy that's more upset than anybody when they're not poised. You know what I'm saying? That's the guy that I want to know is saying, hey, wait a minute, get back in here, break this huddle the right way. It's a sloppy break just to start out everything. You get lollygaggers going up to the line of scrimmage. We're not breaking the huddle. That's when you want that leadership to show right there. But he's not happy with their poise.
Yeah, it's a good news, bad news thing. Obviously, the bad news is that they didn't have a great scrimmage, and all the things that you just talked about, all the things Steve Sarkisian talked about. It just wasn't a great day for the Texas offense, and not what you wanted to hear from that side of the football just 2 weeks away from the start of the actual season. You did hear Steve Sarkisian say, these are things that we had done right in the previous 2.5 weeks of camp. So right. I hear that and I think, okay, well, we know they're capable of doing it, and we know this stuff is fixable because they've already proven the ability to do it. So I'd rather be having this conversation in late August than having it after Texas State or after Tennessee or after Oklahoma or after, obviously, any game during the regular season. So there's still time. It's called training camp. Training is in the name. You're not a finished product. It's not supposed to be perfect right now. There's still time to get things cleaned up. Now it's about, okay, being more poised, being more sharp, making sure when you have these game-like situations in practice over the next couple of weeks before Texas State comes to town, it looks a hell of a lot better than what it apparently looked like on Saturday.
It doesn't matter if you're the number 5 team in the nation or the number 1 team in the nation. Everybody goes through that. It just happens to you. You know what I mean? It's that, hey, I can tell you 100 times about crossing that road, but just somewhere somebody's going to panic. And you just can't have a bunch of panic. Some of their biggest problems were some of the panics that they have and lack of poise. And in this conference, you better have it, because week in and week out, somebody's going to put you under duress. There's going to be a team that you think is not so good that's going to play some really good defense or going to have some offensive explosions. So you can't be you got to have poise. You can't let the snowball keep getting bigger, and it can't keep going down the hill. Somebody has to stop the snowball. So it's like you said, it's better to get rid of it now. Let's talk about it now. Let's get rid of it. And if you've done it before, and I told you don't cross the street, and you've gone a week without crossing the street, but then all of a sudden there's 2 of you goofballs decided, I'm going to cross the street anyway, coach. Let's get rid of it now.
Yeah, I think the only reason, Buck, there's any concern surrounding Longhorn Nation, and I'm not talking about everybody, right? Some folks are like, it's fine. It's just one bad practice. They'll be okay. Show me what it looks like during the game.
Yeah, or show me what it's like during practice. I mean, if you're having, you're talking about scrimmage, but if you're having really good practices where your team looks really good and you look poised, that counts too. That matters. People don't think of practices. They think of practices practice. Like Sark says, we don't want to just be running plays. We're not trying to get numbers. We're trying to get good plays in there. We're not just doing numbers because we got it on a script, and then practice gets shorter and shorter as the script goes on. You get closer and closer to being done with practice. We want to get practice and get something out of that practice. So if they're having those kind of practices, that means something too. Because folks, you're not at every practice. You're not seeing every segment of practice and what they do.
That's the thing. Like, we don't see the practices. So maybe that happened 5 times last week. And then, in Saturday's scrimmage, it didn't happen. And, hey, that's the time we heard from Steve Sarkisian. So that's what everyone takes. Like, yeah, we're not privy to all of the information that Steve Sarkisian has.
Right.
But I think the concern is the way this team started last season.
Yes.
Like, is this deja vu happening right now? Because last year during fall camp, all we heard about was how good the Texas defense looked. And, some Longhorn fans kind of turned a blind eye to it. It's like, all right, well, let's practice. Who cares? It's no big deal. And then we saw how the offense played in the first month and a half of the season. And it's like, oh, no, maybe it was a big deal. So now there are some Texas fans out there. Again, not everybody. I don't know if it's the majority. It might just be a few.
I don't think it should be, because once again, it's practice. It's a scrimmage. The defense is pretty good, by the way.
Right. But I'm just telling you what I'm seeing out there on social media from people I talk to. I've got folks sending me texts saying, oh, God, BK, is this happening again? Like, because of the way the offense started last season, there are some folks like, okay, I thought we'd be over this. I was expecting to hear that Arch Manning's carving up the defense every single day. And the timing of the offense looks great. And, hey, this is year 6 of Steve Sarkisian, only year 1 of Will Muschamp. Shouldn't the offense be way ahead of the defense right now? Why is it the other way around? Like, there's some of that thought going on with Texas fans that, again, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's warranted. I think this offense will be just fine. But that's sort of some sentiment that I've sensed coming out of the weekend, Buck.
Well, yeah. Well, the head coach gave you that feeling. What he said is plenty to make you worry a little bit. It's you've seen it before. It's not something that he's just making up. We've actually seen it in play,
Yeah. And obviously a lot of folks asking questions about Arch Manning, the leader of this offense. Of course, when practice reports come out that say Texas had 4 turnovers offensively on Saturday, rival fan bases are going to say, oh my God, Arch Manning threw 4 interceptions. That's not what happened at all. But we talked about it yesterday. It's kind of documented that Arch Manning did not have his best practice that he's ever had on Saturday. So Steve Sarkisian was asked a question yesterday about Arch. Like, hey, are you happy with where he's at? Is he where he needs to be? Any concerns that you have about your starting quarterback going into his second year as QB1?
Well, he's had a great camp, man. I'm pumped about it. I think his rapport with Ryan and Cam and Emmett is really high. I think his rapport with our running backs is really high. I mean, those guys are good players and they can catch the ball, and that takes timing, that takes rapport. And so I'm very excited. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to play really well. Again, we got 2 more weeks to continue to sharpen up, but I'm very excited for where he's at and the type of camp he's had.
Yeah, I want his report. That's generally that way it is with receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. All the stars kind of get together. They're fine. I want his report with those guys up front of him to be good enough where he can stick his foot in their rear ends when they screw up, and they understand that he's the leader of the team and the leader of the offense. So when you're jumping and fidgety and not having poise, he can look you in the eye and tell you got to be better. And you can look him in the eye and say to him, your receivers can look him in the eye and say, hey, you need to put that ball here and not over there. And you need to be, I'm open, get the ball to me. That's what I want to hear Sark tell me, that his rapport with all of them. You better have rapport with the wide receivers and the running backs. That's the simple deal. The hard rapport, and you can ask Casey Studdard and people like that, is if your quarterback has rapport with you, the guys that are blocking for him up front and are able to tell you, hey, you got to be better up here. That's the stuff I want to hear. I expect him to have that great rapport with Cam Coleman and Ryan Wingo and Emmett Mosley. He better have rapport with those dudes. He better not be hitting them in the back of the head and stuff like that. That rapport is easy. You get that at catchy catch. But it's the real battles up front that you have to be able to tell them, hey, I'm getting a lot of pressure over here. I want to be in this little pocket here, but I got guys in my face. You got to be able to tell those guys. And hey, I said the snap was on 2. Why are you jumping around and moving around? You're making everybody nervous. That's the stuff that I've learned, in coaching, being around guys like Doug Flutie, and seeing the way they handle guys up front. Little guy handling, 300-pounders, telling them, hey, this is on you. This isn't me. I'm getting too much pressure here. That's the kind of stuff I wish Sark would tell us more about his quarterback, how he is with those dudes.
Well, we've heard from Sark numerous times that he's taken more of a leadership role and he's been more vocal. And we haven't just heard that from the head coach. We've heard that from his teammates as well. So, again, we don't know exactly what he says.
Yeah, and once again, we're not at practice, so we don't need to see how he handles certain periods where he still has to go against the defense, but they're not counting that. There's no scoreboard. There's no scrimmage part of that. But he could be carving them up, plays to be – and once again, plays that are written down, BK, the scripted plays that you need to see run against certain defenses, not just your defense. The defensive line doesn't get to do a lot of things that they would like to do against Ohio State, or they need to play some fundamental stuff that you may see in game one with Texas State. They have to do that. They don't always get to, but the talent that runs that stuff is a lot better than you're going to see when you actually play against that team. So there's a lot of different looks that you get and everything else. So as long as they're getting some of that stuff done, but the basics is, like you said, snap counts and things like that. Coach doesn't want to see guys being jumpy because you're going to go against good defenses all year long outside of game number one. There's some pretty talented SEC defenses out there.
Yep, that's high praise for UTSA right there, lumping them in with the SEC.
I'm not. There's no excuse. I don't care who's that left tackle or who's that left guard or who the center is. There's not going to be an excuse for that. There's not going to be any excuse for sloppiness in game one. Just the basic sloppiness that you have in game one is going to happen. That game is at home. There shouldn't be any pressure. You'll have 100,000 fans there. You're playing against a team down the road. That's how you think of them, just a group down the road that you're going to have a big scrimmage with. But you want to look sharp for the following week. You want to be sharp in that game. You want other people to play in that game. And when they get their opportunity in that game, they have to look good too. Your 2s and 3s have to look really good in this game.
That'd be nice. And Texas is nearly a 30-point favorite for the opener against Texas State. By the way, UTSA is week 3. Texas State, obviously, the game coming up next weekend.
Right.
One that you are referencing. We'll dive back into this conversation. I have a few more thoughts on Arch Manning because I do think it's noteworthy that he has had a good camp and he is building that chemistry and rapport with his wide receivers. And also, I heard some very good things about Arch Manning's Monday practice. You're looking for a response from players when they have bad days or bad moments, and it sounds like Arch Manning responded in a very positive way last night. So before we dive back in to the Longhorn offense conversation about our first round of sponsor shout-outs, Buck.
Folks, if you have reoccurring drain clogs, it's a sign of bigger problems that you have. Let Woods Comfort Systems help you get to the source. Proudly serving San Marcos, Kyle, and Wimberley. Their experienced team can come clear out the stubborn clog, identify what the problem is, and get it done immediately. And right now, for only $70, they're going to clear up the problems of the drains, give you a free camera inspection. All you have to do is give them a call. 71 years of service in Central Texas. Give them a call today at 737-251-6199. That's 737-251-6199. Woods Comfort Systems, nobody does it better.
No, they don't. WoodsComfortSystems.com is how you can find them online. Speaking of nobody doing it better, nobody builds homes better than our friends at McCall Custom Homes. It's in the name, Custom Home Builders. They also do renovations here in Central Texas. It's a father-son team with more than 4 decades of combined experience. And all that experience has been right here. They didn't start in California or Florida and decide to follow everybody else and move to Austin. They started here and they have stayed here. So they know what it takes to turn a Central Texas home into something truly special. Again, if you want to start from square one, building your dream home from nothing, these are the folks to call. If you've got a place that you kind of like, but you really want to spruce it up and make it a place that you really love, these are the folks to call. Mike McCall, great dude, big Longhorn fan, tunes in every single day. He and his team will take care of you. How about free estimates for Bucky and BK listeners? These guys are A+ rated by the BBB, of course, fully licensed and insured. They're not fly-by-night. They know what they're doing because they've been doing it for a very long time. McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. That's the website, or you can reach out to Mike directly on his cell, 512-633-9580. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home.
And our good friends over at Sue Patrick, great selection of Longhorn apparel, collectibles, hats, T-shirts, tons of Texas-themed gifts, items, books, golf accessories, men's and women's clothing in all sizes, and clothing for kids too, and toddlers. If you're looking for that nice gift for a brand new baby, you can get it at Sue Patrick. Get them into that Horns gear immediately. They offer free online shipping shipping on online orders of $59 or more, free curbside pickup. And folks, go say hello to the gang over at 5222 Burnett Road. You'll find the jelly cats have been restocked over there. Everything that you're looking for to start out the Longhorn season, you've got it at Sue Patrick. 50 years of service in Central Texas. Go to SuePatrick.com for more information. Say hello to Jay and the gang over there while you're there. And say hello to Sue while you're there also.
And we will be there on Friday.
Nice.
So if you want to
schedule glasses.
Get those schedule glasses. If you want to say hello to us this Friday, we will be there from 8 to 10, hawking those schedule glasses, those schedule tees, and all the other great Longhorn gear that you need going into the 2026 season. Shout out to them. And hey, if you need a place to wear that Longhorn gear, well, how about to the games? And if you need tickets to the games, how about centextickets.com? That's the only place I go to buy my Texas Longhorn tickets. That's the only place I go for concert tickets, for comedy show tickets, for festival tickets. Any event that I'm trying to go to, Centex Tickets is where I go to find my seats. Why? Well, they're local. I love supporting local business. And also I get 10% off, just like you people do. I use the promo code Centex10 at checkout, so I get 10% off. If you use the promo code Centex10 at checkout, you're going to get 10% off. Whether you're buying one for you, maybe it's a date night, you're taking the lady or the man, maybe it's a whole family outing and you need 5 or 6 tickets for the entire gang. Doesn't matter. 10% off from our friends at centextickets.com. All you have to do is type in that promo code Centex10 when you check out.
Did Ricky make the number 11 more famous than I did? Well, that's what he told me he was going to do. I don't know if he did. Nobody remembers him more about number 11. I think they remember him more for 34.
Nobody remembers you for 11. I can tell you that.
Hey, come on, BC. They remember the big 11, the double one, the double notch. They do remember that for sure. When he came here, somebody was wearing his number, so he never had. Oh, sorry about that, Jaden Daniels. Ricky never put up a battle about. Hey, I said to him, I said, if you want me to take that number off that kid's back, I'll take it off his back if you want 34. He goes, no. He goes, what number did you wear? I said, I wore number 11. He goes, I'll wear number 11. I said, that's a weird number for a guy playing running back. He goes, well, I'll make it famous. That's what he told me. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure you will.
That is fantastic. How long did Ricky wear the number 11 before he made the move to 34?
I think 2 years, for 2 years.
Okay. Well,
and I told him I'd snatch number 34 off this other fullback's back if he'd like. I said, I'll go in there and take it off of him right now. Before he hit the showers, I'll take that jersey. He says, no. He said, I don't want to do that to the kid.
That's funny. Yeah, as a Texas fan who was too young to really remember Ricky Williams' collegiate career, what I do remember about him, and most of that is based on what I've been told, or obviously highlights that I've watched, was him rocking the number 34. So there you go. Like when I think of great 11s in Texas history, obviously the first guy I think of is Superman, Derek Johnson.
Derek Johnson, yes.
He's a stud. A lot of recent younger folks will think of Sam Ehlinger, obviously a stud and fan favorite quarterback here in the last decade.
Did Major wear 11?
Major did. Colin Simmons did at the start of his career. Now he flipped over to number 1 before last season. So maybe by the time his Longhorn career is all said and done, he's going to be remembered more for that number. But yeah, I don't associate the number 11 with Ricky Williams, and I think most Longhorn fans, kind of like me, we think of Ricky.
Well, I think that what they did was they saw their first glimpse of him wearing number 11, playing against Hawaii, going nuts, beating them into his first game.
Our guy CB has a better memory of it than you do. He was number 11 for 3 years.
Of course CB does. I don't have that kind of memory. I don't go back. I wasn't counting number 11s. I wasn't counting how many yards he needed, the whole works.
The only thing you were counting back then was how many shots of Jack you had at the
There you go. Yeah. How many shots of Jack does it take for you to go home?
Yeah. How many shots can I have at Trudy's and still drive home tonight, please? Somebody let me know. That was your
Yes, but we don't do that any longer. We're not there anymore.
Thankfully, we don't do that any longer. All right, back into the Longhorn football conversation. We continue to talk about Arch Manning. Again, a rough day for Arch on Saturday. He wasn't alone. The Texas offense, a little sloppy, a little lethargic. Those are words that Steve Sarkisian has used over the last couple of days to describe his side of the ball's performance in scrimmage number 2. But I read last night that Arch Manning responded in a big way and had a fantastic practice. He was slinging it yesterday. And look, I'm very confident that Arch Manning is going to be just fine when the season gets here 11 days from now. But obviously, Buck, that's what you want to hear about a player who struggled. I don't care who you are, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Archie Manning, Arch Manning. You're going to have a bad day as a quarterback. You're going to have bad moments as a quarterback. You're going to throw interceptions. You're going to turn the football over. You're going to have plays that you wish you could take back. Playing quarterback isn't always about every single play. It's about how you respond to adversity, how you respond when things don't go your way. I don't think Longhorn fans need any more proof of that from Arch Manning, considering how he responded to a pretty horrendous first month and a half of the 2025 season, right? People were calling for his head. Everyone was calling him a flop. Even Texas fans had turned on him saying, we got to go see what Matthew Caldwell has instead. And then boom, Arch Manning in the final 6 or 7 games of the 2025 season was playing just about as well as any quarterback in America. But I do like hearing that, again, after a bit of a sluggish performance over the weekend, that he apparently put it behind him and had a really, really solid showing last night.
Yeah, I don't worry when Sark says there was occasions where he could have taken off and he didn't take off and run. When the games come, that dude is taking off. When the real stuff happens, on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, and there's a big old gaping hole there, and that guy sees you got your back turned or linebackers aren't in the right spot, he's going to run. Now, these guys on this defense, these guys are liable to pop you. His buddies, and they shouldn't be, but they're liable to give him one that he doesn't need to take right now because he's trying to show them that he can get a first down. When the games come, he'll take off and do those things. I after the scrimmage, Sark said there was some occasions where he thought he could have taken off and run with the ball. But I'd rather see him try to throw and get some tight throws in there right now. Yeah. I know what he'll do in the game. I know that natural ability in the game. We've seen that when he's taken off and going. I think we'll see a lot of that in the game. I don't expect in a scrimmage to see that. I know the head coach would like to see it because he would call that a successful play, that the defense really didn't have him. But I'd rather for him to try to make those tight throws and try to beat them that way in the scrimmages than to take off and run. Hell, he could drop back and probably run all the time in the scrimmages when guys get out of place. Yeah. But the game time, I'm not worried about. That's one thing I don't worry about when coach says, well, he could have taken off and he should have or whatever. He will in the games.
Oh, yeah. We saw it a bunch last year. Yes. And you think about the most recent game that Arch Manning played in, the bowl win against Michigan, and Arch Manning's legs were a huge part in the Longhorns finding that win in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, I don't expect that to change in his repertoire. I expect him to do that all the time.
No. And going back to the cut we played earlier, look, Steve Sarkisian said Arch Manning has had a great camp. He's built up the rapport with his top wide receivers. And like you said, I mean, you expect to have those things by this point in the season. But it's nice to hear, number one, that Arch has had a good camp. But don't forget, this guy was very limited in the spring because of off-season surgery. And with Ryan Wingo, okay, he was here last year. With Emmett Mosley, he was here last year. Okay, you expect the chemistry to be there. You shouldn't need a lot of reps in the off-season to have that where it needs to be. But I liked hearing that it's good with Cam Coleman, and maybe more so, Buck, that it's good with the running backs. Obviously, yes. Top 3 running backs, at least projected on a Texas depth chart, were guys who are not here in 2025. And that's something you and I talked about a lot last year, something we've talked about in the offseason, how the Texas running backs need to be more involved in the passing game. That was the strength of this offense in 2024, and it totally disappeared in 2025. I like hearing that, okay, there's good chemistry there, and it sounds like, obviously we'll wait to see it with our own eyes, but it sounds like, Buck, that is going to be maybe a point of emphasis for this offense once again this season.
Yeah, and it's also going to be a point of emphasis for defending teams that have to defend this offense.
Yeah.
Because if that run game gets going, that pass game will go. And his ability to run too, I mean, you got a wide open field for a lot of things to happen if the run game is good. That's why I'm not so worried when you're missing two guys on your offensive line, 2 starters. And, one of the biggest problems was your offensive line last year. And right now, you got 2 guys that aren't playing. That still is kind of, once those guys get together, hopefully that last week of practice, they'll all be together and things will come together a little bit more. You'll hear there'll be some highlights of the offense. The coach will let people know that the offense looked pretty good, whether they look good or not. That's just the way they design things. I thought it would happen in this scrimmage, but still, you got another week of practice. You're liable to you're going to hear about good things happening towards the end of this week and going into next week into game week anyhow.
I will say this, Lawrence Seymour, the projected starter at left guard, the transfer from Western Kentucky, did return to practice yesterday. And Sark did tell us over the weekend, like if it was a game or something more important, Lawrence Seymour would have been out there, but we just wanted to make sure that he fully recovered and there were no setbacks or anything like that. But the good news, Lawrence Seymour is back on the practice field, still obviously awaiting that report for Trevor Gooseby. But it's interesting, Buck, the defense, are they ahead of the offense? That's what seems to be the case right now. And Steve Sarkisian was asked basically that exact question yesterday. Do you feel like your defense is ahead of your offense at this point in time?
No. This is that. I'm not taking anything away from the defense. I'm taking away from you line up in the wrong spot. I'm talking about blocking the right person. I'm talking about running the right route or running the right route at the correct depth. I'm talking about things that are inconsequential to who our opponent is. It's the things that we can control. And I felt like there were too many things Saturday that we had shown to do right over the previous 2.5 weeks that we didn't do correct on Saturday. And to me, that was a byproduct of our guys being a little lethargic, maybe succumbing to the conditions and the heat. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, and so we got to trust our physical and mental conditioning that we can perform under those elements and do our job. And we didn't do it well enough Saturday to what we're capable of doing.
Yeah, to me, that's just all poise. I'm not going to go to the physical. I know it's hot, but this team physically, they've been pretty good. We've seen years where they're laid out on the field all over the place every time somebody made a tackle. So I'm not going to dip down to think physically they're not capable of. It's hot. We understand that. It's a poise thing. And when you have to get to a right depth on the route, you have to get there, period. That's all poise. That's you in a panic of saying, oh, no, I'm clear right now. Let me turn around. No, you need to go 3 more yards. That's what the quarterback's expecting for you. You may think you're open, but there's expectations of somebody coming underneath you or whatever that you have to be in. That's your poise. That's not because you're tired. That's just being poised and what you have to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Steve Sarkisian, I promise he was asked, is the defense ahead of the offense? And he turned it into like, no, it's just the offense didn't play well. So I guess that was his way of saying, no, they're not. The offense is where it needs to be. They just had a crappy day. And like you said, you keep using the word poised, like they just weren't poised when they needed to be,
right.
Whether it was the heat. I mean, they ran 120 plays and 105-degree temps. Buck, you and I spend the start of every show complaining about how hot it is.
Yes.
We do like 20 minutes of work outside, and we're not in pads playing football right now on turf or grass that's basically 150 degrees on the field.
It takes its toll on you.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's that. And obviously you're going up against a Will Muschamp defense. And look, I think something else that is at least worth bringing up is I think there are more spots that are up for grabs on the Texas defense than on the Texas offense right now from a starting perspective.
Yes.
It's not to say like guys on offense aren't trying or working hard or this, that, and the other, but like guys on defense are fighting for legit snaps, and they've got a new defensive coordinator, a new position that they're trying to impress. And hey, some of these linebackers, oh my God, one guy just got dismissed. Here's my chance. Like any position you look at, there are guys maybe out for something to prove. So this defense is really good. You've got that element of it too. The heat, whatever it was, all of those things can lead to Saturday going down.
Yeah, with the offense, a lot of times it can be the element of surprise when you get to games and stuff. You're not surprising anybody on this defense. These kids know each other. They know your moves. The secondary guys know the wide receivers' moves by now. Cam Coleman is probably the only one that gets to show off some of his good stuff because they haven't seen much of him. Now they're starting to get used to that stuff. So, mostly defenses all over the nation are better than offenses. Even when the camp ends, if you say, well, the offense is ahead of the defense, then I'm really worried. If I got a bad defense going into the SEC, I am really worried,
Yeah.
So that's fine with me. Keep telling me the defense is doing great. Got a new defensive coordinator. You got guys fighting like hell to get position, get playing time. The offense, I'm sure will have its struggles, but get your poise, gather your poise. You got a scrimmage game in game one. Gather your poise over the last 2 weeks of practice before you play in an exhibition game, and so that you're ready in week two. I've just been around so many offenses that got our brains kicked in the hot, sweaty days of the summer. We may have beat them in some sections of practice and maybe one scrimmage, but generally the sick'em guys on defense get to go sick'em. They get to come out of their lanes and still make plays. Offensively, you get in the wrong lane or whatever it is, or your assignment's off, like Sark says, it just shows. It shows immediately. The play gets blown up when you go after the wrong guy. So that part of it is poised to me. It's hot, be poised. That's your guy. Don't make a false step or whatever. But most of the times, defenses win the summertime battle. They generally win the spring battle. You'll have occasions where you talk about certain guys got torched in the secondary, but it's generally not the offense that wins the battles. You want it to be. You like for it to be even, BK. It's never really even.
Well, they say defense wins championships. So if you subscribe to that theory, then you should feel very confident that the Longhorns have a chance to do something special in 2026.
Well, I subscribe to it's not quite as technical as it looks on defense. Mm-hmm. You can get in the wrong lane and outmuscle a guy and still make a great play on defense. And the coach will look at it and say, well, you weren't supposed to be there. Hey, nice play.
Yeah.
You do that on offense and you go after the wrong guy on the offensive line. The guy that you were supposed to get is sitting in the backfield with his arm, with a napkin around his neck going, hey, where's my dinner? Where's my dinner? Here's my quarterback's arm. I mean, those things just happen. So I'm used to defenses winning. It didn't matter whether I was with Doug Flutie or Jeff George. We had hard times against the defense. We had hard times against some defenses that weren't that good.
Yeah. Well, the Texas defense is really good. And look, the Longhorns, you brought it up earlier, they're going to have to see some elite defenses this season. Ohio State's going to be great. Don't like praising Oklahoma, but they've got a very good defense. I mean, we know what the gauntlet that Texas has to face in the SEC looks like. Right. So, they need this work against a very good defense. There are some weeks where obviously, the defense won't be close to what the Longhorns face in practice, but you're trying to win a national championship. This is a championship or bust kind of season. You've got to test your mettle against an elite defense, and you got to prove that you can hold your own against some of the best players in college football.
Yeah, and that's why the coach doesn't like guys just running plays. You look like you were just running that play. No, these are championship plays that we're running now. I know it doesn't seem like it means much in the summertime, but these are championship plays. We're not running plays to get that list that's this big to that big so practice is over with. All these plays matter, and that's hard for it's hard. Coaches want to see those plays matter. They don't want to see you running plays and then counting down, looking at whatever you got your watch or whatever it is that okay, it's almost over, guys. We got like 8 more plays. I saw the script. We got 8 more plays to run. Or your quarterback's looking like I got the script here. Oh, hey guys, we got like 7 more plays. He don't want to hear any of that crap. He wants those plays to matter. And on defense, they all matter. Those guys just go balls to the wall. Like you said, those are a bunch of guys trying to get playing time over there.
No doubt. All right, more sound from Steve Sarkisian here. Mentioned it earlier. Lawrence Seymour was back at practice yesterday. If you don't believe me, Steve Sarkisian starts this next bit of sound by confirming that. But he was also asked who else impressed individually in Saturday's scrimmage. And Steve Sarkisian brought up 2 players in particular. This stood out to me. Here's the Longhorns head coach.
Yeah, Lawrence was back today, which was great for us. I will say 2 guys, and I'm going to brag on these 2 guys, and I'm not answering your question, but they both had good scrimmages. I could argue the 2 hardest playing players on our team right now are Grayson Littleton and Emmett Mosley. And they're playing at an extremely high level, not a good level, I'm talking extremely high level. But what's interesting about that, they go against each other every day. And so when you talk about iron sharpening iron and two guys that push themselves every day, whether it's in the pass game, the run game, it just shows. And then what happens? What's the byproduct? They play good, when the time comes. And so those are two guys that I don't know if I mentioned a whole lot Saturday, but I will tell you they've had great camps. They had a really good scrimmage Saturday, and excited for them for this upcoming season. One for Grayson, year 2, new system. You could feel his confidence. And 2 for Emmett, healthy. Where this time last year he wasn't even practicing, and healthy, playing fast, and he's coming off of the way he ended last season. I'm excited for those two guys.
Well, to hear about Emmett Mosley is really important because that guy may lead the team in receptions. I mean, Arch may be his guy, his go-to guy. Throw a ball a little bit off, that guy makes a catch. I mean, that's good to hear because we haven't seen a lot of him. Especially when it comes to practices, the guy we've seen him in games, but we haven't seen him with these full practices. And if he's getting better and better, that makes things a lot better. And the other kid, I mean, we saw him last year. We saw him play, and you can see he's progressing. He's not just the same kid that he was last year. He's moving up the ladder. He's not moving. It's not staying the same. He's getting better. So those are two guys it's good to hear that about both of those players.
Yeah, agreed 100%. I think those are two of the most important players on this Texas team this year. And starting with Emmett Mosley on offense, yeah, you said it. I mean, he didn't get to Texas until last summer, and he got hurt in the first week of fall camp. So missed a bunch of practice, like you said, and also missed the first month of the 2025 season. So he was just a little bit behind the 8 ball, and he was coming off, some pretty major injuries that he had dealt with previously. And he became one of Arch Manning's favorite targets down the stretch. Like, we spent a lot of time talking about how good Manning looked in the final month and a half of the season. I don't think it's all just a coincidence. I think part of that has to do with the fact that Emmett Mosley was back on the field. He was up to speed. He was 100%. He knew the offense. Those two guys clearly had something that clicked, and there's a chance. I mean, I think you can make a case that Cam Coleman's going to lead this team in receiving, obviously. Ryan Wingo led this team in receiving last year, so I think you can make a strong argument that he's going to be that guy. But Emmett Mosley, as the number 3 wide receiver on this Texas team, with what we saw between him and Arch last year, I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to say that he's got a shot to be very close, if not leading the team in at least one of the 3 major statistical receiving categories this year.
Yeah, I mean, if he leads in receptions, I mean, if he's in that 80s or high 70s or 80s, that would be awesome for this football team. I mean, he doesn't have to make these big plays, touchdown plays, but move the chains, let's go, give you that the second and shorts and things like that, because he's dependable. That's going to be very important.
As a freshman at Stanford, obviously before he transferred to Austin, he missed a month of the season, had 48 catches, 525 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Like, I would take that. I think he could do more than that this year, and I think he'll have to do more than that if he wants to lead Texas in any of those categories. But, that's what the guy did, missing a month of his freshman season. And again, down the stretch, put up good numbers. The rapport was there with Arch. I think he's good enough to be a number 1 wide receiver on a number of teams around college football. And to have that as a 3, he's going to be getting favorable matchups every single week. That's such a luxury that Texas has, having a 3rd receiver as good as Emmett Mosley. I love hearing that he's working hard, and obviously a lot of praise from his coach about that work ethic, but also about just the way he's looked in practice. He's got a chance to be a differentiator for this offense this season.
And those two going against each other, that's good news.
Yeah. And then Grayson Littleton, really good last year. Like, as a true freshman, he started game 1 on the road against Ohio State, and that stood out to me. Like, this was a talented Texas team a year ago, preseason number 1 team in the country, and the fact that they trusted him enough to put him on the field for, I think it was 20 or so snaps against a really, really good Ohio State team and that incredible crop of wide receivers that they had. I mean, that kind of told you everything that you needed to know about how they felt about Grayson Littleton. But I will say this, back in the spring, there were some not as positive reports about Grayson Littleton. Like, maybe it was taking him a little bit of time to figure out Will Muschamp's new defense. And, Muschamp typically looks for a little more physicality in the star/nickel corner position. And Littleton's not the biggest guy. I know some other guys were cross-training there, and maybe, Littleton's going to be fighting for more playing time. Maybe he's a little bit lower in the pecking order in year 2 in this defense versus Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. I was told the other day, Buck, that there hasn't been a player who has improved more from the spring to the fall than Grayson Littleton. And, sometimes you hear that you're talking about a freshman, and that's great. But hearing that with the guy who was already good in the SEC last year tells me that, no, like he's taken another level, like you said. It's not just, he's slightly better. He has taken a big step. He's going to be an important piece of this Texas defense. And, shoot, I heard about his work ethic. We all heard about his work ethic back in high school. That continues, and that's really, really good to hear because he's very valuable on that defense.
I think what I really would love to hear from Sark by the end of this week is that Seymour makes a difference in the run game. I'd love to hear him come back to let us all know that he's back, he's playing, he's healthy, he looks good, and he's making a difference in our run game. That's the thing I'd like to hear about that dude, that he is making the difference in the run game. Now, he's just not a participant, and he's back and on the field and all that stuff, but he's making a difference in what they do in the run game. That would make me feel very confident then.
Yeah, talking about Lawrence Seymour. I did see, I think it was on Texas Football, who had this quote. I think I saw it this morning. Lawrence Seymour, quote, "He moves people. He uses his quickness. He gets into guys. He's played a lot of football, and he's really smart," end quote. That was the exact quote that I read this morning about him. And even though he's missed a week plus with an injury hiccup, to use Sark's words, still seems like he is the leader in the clubhouse to be the starter at left guard. And I know that's not from the coach. You're talking about hearing it from the coach, but that's hearing it from an inside source that Lawrence Seymour is doing some of the things that you were asking about.
Yeah, well, the coach is just happy to have him out there on the field and making it through practice if he's had those little hiccups. That's what the coach is. He's played this number of snaps. He looks good at the end of practice. He's healthy. Let me go watch some film and see how he does. That's the part I want Sark to be able to say to us at the end of this week is, okay, he's been practicing through these little injuries, and I've watched him on film. He makes a difference if we're going to the left side in those gaps, and that's good because that's what he was brought here to do.
Yeah, it would be a disappointment. No disrespect to the other guys on the Texas offensive line, but like you said, Lawrence Seymour was brought in here to be a starter on the offensive line. So it would be disappointing. I don't care that he's been dealing with an injury these last couple of weeks.
You're right.
He doesn't win that job and he doesn't play well, then that will be frustrating. And we know how a bad left guard can impact an entire offensive line and an entire team. We all saw that with our own eyes last year. We don't want to deal with that again.
Yeah, and then to talk about, Baker and how he's doing. It's time for us to hear about these offensive linemen that are playing. What is this run game going to be like, Coach? And then at the end of this week, he'll let you know. He'll let you know about the run game because we always want to know how Arch is doing and how are the pass. We know the pass game will be. It's going to be fine if they can protect him. It's going to be fine. He will run and make things happen with his legs. But is this run game going to be for real, or are we just hoping it's going to be for real? I want to hear that from the coach at the end of the week because these are the dog. Like you said, BK, these are the dog days.
Well, I can only play one cut at a time. Sark was asked about the run game. So
really?
We'll get to that later. Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered is going to join us momentarily. Some SEC starting quarterback announcements this week. We also have to get CP's thoughts on what the hell is going on at LSU. Moments ago, the Big Ten came out and said that they're about to pass a rule. I guess the Big Ten didn't say it. It was reported that the Big Ten is not going to allow players from the NFL to return to college, which your move, Greg Sankey, do something for once. We'll get to that with CP and we'll give our thoughts on that in a moment. But before we go anywhere else, Buck, how about a few more sponsor shout outs?
Folks, if you're seeking specialized patient-focused orthopedic care, contact the experts and our friends at Texas Orthopedics. Their physicians offer comprehensive surgical and non-surgical orthopedic care for children and adults, rehabilitation, spinal care, sports medicine, joint replacement. Their doctors are dedicated orthopedic surgeons there, and they've got a lot of them. I was there yesterday. They've got tons of them, and their goal is to get you right back into good health and the great quality of life that you deserve. Texas Orthopedics is the largest independent orthopedic practice in Central Texas. Once again, rehabilitation. It's not always about the surgery. It's about rehabbing an injury that you have. I was over there in the MRI machine yesterday for quite a while. I love the folks over there. They treat you well. They're looking out for your best interests, and and it's not always about surgery. For more information, please go to txortho.com.
Oh, yeah. Love Texas Orthopedics. Reach out to those folks if you need them. Also love our friends at Roger Beasley Mazda South, the #1 Mazda dealer in the state of Texas. How about 30 consecutive Mazda President's Club awards? You talk about a dynasty. Those things aren't built overnight. They're built after years and years of consistency. Roger Beasley Mazda South has created a dynasty that is unmatched in the car space. So if you are in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, go see our great friends at Roger Beasley Mazda South. Brett, Bryant, D at the front desk. It's a great group of guys and gals who will take care of you. Their showroom is absolutely beautiful. You can also shop online, MazdaSouth.com. You can look at some of the great specials and deals that they have going on without leaving the comfort of your home. But, man, go out and see them just south of Highway 71 on the I-35 frontage road. I've been driving around that 2026 CX-5.
You just park it and sit in the air conditioning and look out the window.
Dude, it's gorgeous. It is so nice. It's a luxury car. At least that's what it feels like. And then you look at the price and it's like, wait, really? I can get all of this for that? Plus the legendary reliability and safety that comes along with Mazda, plus the backing of the Roger Beasley Mazda name that's been around Central Texas for 55 years. And of course, they are still growing. Mazda South, go see them again. I-35 just south of Highway 71, or shop online, MazdaSouth.com.
And once again, our friends over at Early Bird CBD BK, can't thank them enough for getting me through my MRI 45 minutes in the machine yesterday. I wanted to give myself a big glass of water. I put some drops in there. By the time I got there, VK, I was ready. I had to put on that little goofy gown that goes on backwards where your butt is hanging out the back and stuff. Great. Nothing like laying on that slab for 45 minutes, but thank you to the folks at Early Bird. I feel great today. Last time I got into one of those things that my back was bothering me for days afterwards. I'm good to go.
Love it. Love the early.
I was in there dreaming of all kinds of things in that little tunnel.
Oh, did you fall asleep?
No, that sound, it's not, you can't do it.
You were daydreaming.
I was daydreaming, yeah. I wasn't falling asleep in there. That pounding was something.
Hey,
but thank you to the folks at Early Bird.
That's what she said. That pounding was something.
Yeah.
We love the Early Bird products, the gummies, the drops, the tinctures, however you like to consume your Early Bird. It's CBD with a microdose of THC as well. So you're going to feel it. You're going to feel good when you take these products. If you get drug tested at work, find a new job. Also, these aren't for you. If you don't and you're looking to take the edge off, you're looking to have a good time, Early Bird CBD, the products that you have been looking for. Shout out to them. Again, promo code Bucky to get 20% off your first order. All right, each and every Tuesday at this time, we chop it up with one of our favorites, Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Plenty to talk about, from starting quarterback announcements to LSU trying to sign a bunch of 35-year-old NFL veterans. I don't know what's going on, CP. Look, you cover this conference. There's usually not a shortage of content covering the SEC, but, man, it feels like over the last couple of days, it's been Christmas for you guys. How you doing, man?
Yeah, we're doing well. Just looking forward to kickoff and getting away from some of the off-season nonsense that continues to follow us. So, yeah, like you said, no shortage of headlines. We're actually starting to talk week one games over on our entity, which is really exciting. So, pumped to chat with you guys as always.
Yeah, you know, the news from LSU, they just can't help themselves but have to be in the news. You know, I love the folks at LSU. My daughter's a graduate of LSU. But, man, there is always something going on at that place. Basketball, football, track and field, you name it. Women's basketball, men's basketball. It's a nonstop news cycle at that place, Chris. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, here's the big thing. This isn't the reason people hate this with professionals coming back to college. It's not an LSU thing. These players could have gone anywhere, and I think for the most part, the reaction would have been the same.
Sure.
The fact that they're going to LSU, no doubt, though, amplifies it, because LSU loves to lean into, let's just call it what it is, being the heel, being the villain. They have the ultimate troll in Lane Kiffin as their head coach. Will Wade is their basketball, right? It's the perfect semblance of They've collected every infinity stone of coaches you love to hate, essentially. And again, the fan base embraces that. They lean into it, and that's the role they want to play. So it feels like the most no-brainer. I don't even think it's remotely a hot take, and it's the right take when you even have the rational, level-headed LSU fans in agreement with the fact nobody wants to see someone who has signed a professional contract be able to come back and play college sports. Damn a 5 for 5, damn all of it. You know what I mean? Like, right. Nobody wants to see that. Once you step foot in a professional setting and you sign a professional contract, you're done. Your college eligibility is over, guys. And the Big Ten comes out this morning and they say that, and we'll see if it'll even hold up, but they at least make a stand and put their foot down saying, hey, we're not going to allow this. If you've participated in professional competition, that's it for you. And it's just another example, in my opinion, guys, where Tony Petitti continues to run circles around Greg Sankey in the SEC. The SEC, I've gotten to the point, guys, Greg Sankey is a follower. He is not a leader. He is a follower. Because it seems at every turn in the ever-changing landscape, the SEC is all hot air. The SEC is, what was it? Teddy Roosevelt, my buddy Graham Coffey referred to this conversation. Speak softly and carry a big stick. The SEC just loves to talk and do nothing. They're quite the opposite. So, it was Greg Sankey following in the footsteps of the Big Ten, wanting them to go to a 9-game conference schedule. They bent the knee and they did it. They got rid of Cupcake Saturday because of pushback. It's just like the SEC's gotten bullied by the Big Ten. This is another example where it's like, you had the opportunity yesterday to get out ahead and make a statement, and instead you released that nothing burger statement you did, which said nothing, right? Like, you said, okay, like, we disagree with what's going on, but we're not going to do anything about it. Great, you released a statement. Like, take some action for once.
Chris, was Nick Saban just more than a football coach? Because this stuff wasn't going on when Nick was coaching. When he finally said, enough is enough, I'm done with this, no matter why he said it or when he said it, this kind of stuff, did he hold that kind of power over Sankey or whoever else was commissioner? Was he, by the way, the commissioner and the coach at the same time? Because this stuff wouldn't be going on.
Well, we were in a much different era of college sports,
Sure.
It wasn't going on because we didn't know what was ahead of us. You know what I mean? So I don't know that I'd sit there and say that Nick Saban was the one holding it together. And I think there's a reason Nick Saban got out of college sports when he did. I think he understood what was to come. The stories that we heard about players were coming to his office the day after they lost the game to Michigan in the Rose Bowl, wanting to talk about money and NIL. He was good on him for having the self-awareness to say, like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to participate in this anymore. Yeah. So, we certainly could use some guidance from Coach Saban when it comes to something. I don't even know if he'd have the answers, though. So, listen, the easiest solution, and I'm always one, I tell you guys, like, I embrace the fact fully that I don't love, like, this isn't my most favorite conversations to have, because I love the stuff on the field, and all this does is distract off the field. But this stuff is really important because it impacts on the field. Make them paid employees. Just get it over with, man. Like, let's stop pretending the guys are still student athletes. Just make them paid employees. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and get this thing over with. Because I think at that point, then you'll be able to enforce things, and you'll have some structure and understanding, and we'll have contracts. And like, you cannot have a world in which we got guys making millions of dollars and not have some sort of legislation or some sort of rules or standards or whatever it is in place. Now, I know there's more to that than me just saying it, and I'm not in the room that has to make those decisions and have to figure out how that's going to work. But the way we're operating now, guys, like, I had a buddy ask me yesterday, LSU buddy, mind you, he said, what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back? I said, that camel's dead, friend. We're on the second camel by now. That first camel's done for, so I don't know. I mean, you'd think this would be it, but like, nobody even if it benefits. And by the way, I will say this, and I love my Texas folks, but the big pushback from LSU people was like, well, where was the same energy when Texas brought in the guy that was at Brown's training camp? I said, I had the exact same energy. I mean, listen, I'm sorry. I think it's loser behavior to go to the NFL and have to come back to college to play because you weren't good enough to cut it. That's loser behavior, in my opinion. The whole news of guys going to GM saying, if you're going to cut me, please cut me now because I want to. loser behavior. If you're able to do it, it's legal by all means. Take advantage of the rules. It's a flawed system. I get it. But that's loser behavior, in my opinion, guys, and I don't care who gets offended by that. So I had the same energy when it happened with Texas, and it's not as high profile because it's Texas and it's an offensive lineman that was in OTAs or whatever, and it wasn't Daquan Wright who was playing in a preseason game, Jack Pyburn who had multiple sacks in a preseason game, whatever. But I don't like it at all. If you sign a pro contract, you're done. Nobody wants to see professionals coming back to college. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
I agree.
Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. You said student athletes, Chris.
Let's retire. That's the one thing I will say that I have enjoyed over the last couple of years. I remember when I started back in 2017, guys, I was covering one team. People used to get really uncomfortable and irritated even with my commentary and the way I'd cover the games because I was really harsh. You're always more harsh when you're covering one individual team. Like BK and Bucky, y'all know, you'll never be more harsh on any team than you are on Texas, ironically enough, even though they're your team, right? It's like family, right? Like I can talk bad about them, but you can't. But so people would get very upset. How dare you be so critical and come down on these student athletes who are now? I mean, is anybody saying that now? The quarterback that's making $5 million a year, I can't get on him for throwing 3 picks in a game. So that's at least something that's come of this is we have the professionalization of college sports. The energy around it certainly has changed. But yeah, let's retire the term student athlete. And
that whole fit. Anytime you get, I was telling BK back in the day, it wasn't that far back that if you had an agent, you were done. Remember those days, Chris?
Oh yeah.
They found out that you had an agent.
I remember.
You were absolutely done.
I remember Todd Gurley getting suspended 6 games for signing an autograph. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, I used to be horrified to take a kid to pick up a kid from the airport and bring him back to campus just because he didn't have a ride. I mean, I'd be horrified, sneak him in the back of the car and drive around the back of the university and drop him. I mean, it's like that. That's nothing.
Meanwhile, Arion Carter at Tennessee is suspended currently for 2 games because he went through the draft process, got a flight paid for by an agent that was $427. And when he realized he was going to come back to Tennessee, he paid the money back, but got a 2-game suspension for that.
Yeah. College sports.
Make that make sense.
You can't. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, joining us here on Bucky and BK. Well, CP, you always say you like talking about the ball, and let's talk about the 2026 SEC season. I got to give you credit. You were 3 for 3. Now we'll go one by one with these questions, but I felt like there were 3 sort of big up for grabs quarterback battles going on in fall camp in the SEC. I think over the last couple of days, all 3 of those teams have landed on their guy. I want to start with Tennessee because that's a team that Texas is playing first. Obviously, the Longhorns SEC opener on September 26th. You made the call. You thought it'd be Faison Brandon. You thought it should have been Faison Brandon in Knoxville. Tell us about that decision and tell us about the freshman that the Longhorns are going to see about a month from now.
Yeah, the longer this went, it's funny. Earlier in the spring, immediately after the 25 season concluded, you thought, okay, George McIntyre, been in the system for a year. You got a guy in Faison Brandon, a lot of upside, but brand new to the system. And you think the dude who's more experienced, if you will, or been on campus longer, would have the edge. I just think the longer it went, though, and these 2 guys were neck and neck, and there was really no separation, and you get into fall camp, if you're still at that point, which they most certainly were, and I think the momentum really started to shift if you talk to Tennessee folks that Faison Brandon was going to be the guy. And it happened because, guys, when you get guys like that, and I equate this situation a lot to Bama, but when you get guys like that in 11-on-11 and you get them in team periods and you get them in live action, they're able to do things, right, that nobody else on the roster can do. And let's keep it fair, too. George McIntyre's experience was he stood on the sideline for a year holding a clipboard. He didn't really do much of anything. So he's known the playbook for a year longer, but I think with Faison Brandon's intangibles, I think with the upside, with the high ceiling, guys, listen, no matter what, whether you play George McIntyre, unless there was some wide gap where George McIntyre is so far ahead of Faison Brandon, you are building for the future this season, all while trying to win enough this year to get you to that point, right? You can't go 5-7 this year and say, well, we're building for the future. But I'm sure, and maybe you guys didn't see it, but you probably saw a highlight. I'm sure you guys saw DGG, the running back for Baylor School in Chattanooga, the crazy runs that he had the other night on ESPN. He's going to be on campus next year. Like, Tennessee has a lot to look forward to in the future. They just signed another quarterback prospect. Like, they're building to do some big things down the road, maybe as soon as next year. Nobody's under the illusion that anybody other than Faison Brandon is going to be that guy at quarterback. So I think when you factor all that in, what he can do for you immediately as well, from an athleticism standpoint, big body dude, got a really, really strong arm. I mean, guys, I think no matter who they went with the quarterback, I'd have had confidence that Josh Heupel was going to get the best out of him. But I just think with Faison Brandon, very simply put, it was the upside with him. The things that he can do that George McIntyre simply cannot do, that, again, things you cannot coach, I think, when it comes to Faison. He's in a great position, right? 1,000-yard rusher, great offensive line. I think Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews are two guys on the outside that should be ready to pop. So, and you got Josh Heupel in your ear, the quarterback whisperer, quarterback guru, if you will. So he's going to have his bumps in the road, his ups and downs, but they both were guys. And if you're going to have those bumps in the road and you're going to deal with some of the lumps, you might as well take them with the guy that's the future of your program.
Yeah, definitely.
That makes sense.
Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, joining us here. So that's the Tennessee battle. Obviously, the Longhorns will play Florida this season. Texas looking for some revenge after that embarrassing loss in the Swamp last year. Another prediction you got right, CP. Aaron Philo, the Georgia Tech transfer. It only makes sense following his offensive coordinator to Gainesville this year. He gets the nod. Your thoughts on him and your expectations for him as the Gators starting quarterback here in 2026?
Yeah, and BK, you said it. I mean, this is a guy Buster Faulkner handpicked, right? So that was the reason I felt pretty confident that it would be Philo. And from what I had been told, Georgia Tech, they weren't exactly thrilled when they lost him either. I mean, they looked at him as the quarterback of the future. And if you look, he's actually played in some big games. Like he's, I know it's ACC competition, say what you will, but like he's played in like conference against conference opponents before. Like he's seen some significant action is what I mean. Tramel Jones Jr. is a fine player, really exciting player, but I just think, again, when it comes to, I think what Buster Faulkner wants to accomplish in his offense, what he's looking to achieve, what he wants the quarterback to do, nobody on that roster is going to know it better than Aaron Philo. Now, what are their expectations for him? Here's the good news. I don't know that he has to necessarily do a ton. I think if he's a guy that turns into a game breaker and a guy that you win games because of him, I think that is only a plus and an added bonus. And BK, we simply just don't know. Like, we don't know how good Aaron Philo can be or will be. But if you get that out of him, I think that's a bonus, because you look at the offense that he's on. I mean, Jaden Ball should get the football 35 to 40 times a game, and that's not an over-exaggeration. Like, he's that kind of player. Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, Eric Singleton, Micah Mays, all these guys at wide receiver. I mean, I think the offense for Florida is pretty much loaded. The offensive line, they had some position battles in fall camp at the tackle spots, but I think they'll be good enough up front. So, Aaron Philo is a guy, I don't want to call him a game manager by any means, but a distributor of the football to your playmakers for sure. Again, if he's a guy that turns into somebody that you win games because of him, that's great. But I think Florida was probably more so looking for a guy that they're not going to lose games because of that guy. That's the big key for them. And I think Philo, there's probably a trust factor that Faulkner has that, hey, he's going to be able to run this offense the way that I want. So I am intrigued by this one, though, because when you try to project expectations for Philo, it's like, I don't necessarily know. But, yeah, I think the trust factor at the end of the day and familiarity with Faulkner's offense and his expectations of what he wants, that's what it came down to. Yeah,
he's going to have some pretty nice throws because he's had to have some guys that are really talented at wide receiver.
He can't be worse than DJ Lagway was last year.
No.
So that's the good news.
Wait, DJ Lagway was bad? Oh, no, he was bad against everybody else except Texas last year.
Now he's in the state of Texas haunting you.
Yes.
Yeah, at Baylor. Good luck to him. CP, and then the third and final. Texas doesn't play Alabama this year, but it's Alabama, so we're going to ask you about him. And speaking of people from the state of Texas, Keelan Russell, a Texas kid, former five-star recruit, a guy that Texas wanted out of high school, ended up obviously signing with the Crimson Tide. He gets the nod over Austin Mack. You've been on this one. Your thoughts on Keelan Russell and Alabama, a polarizing team. It feels like the expectations nationally aren't as high with them as they have been in the past, but we know how Bama fans feel about their team. Your thoughts on Kalen DeBoer's decision to go with the young Keelan Russell?
Yeah, very similar to the Tennessee quarterback battle, like I mentioned, guys, where a little bit different, but you go with the guy younger, higher upside. I think this was a real heated competition to where, I have no doubts. Like we go back to spring, I have no doubts Austin Mack checked every box in practice, through the spring and the fall, whatever. Like he's a guy that I'm sure that, and it sounds like coach speak, but from the people I talked to, they actually felt really confident that they could go win football games with Austin Mack. Like they have, and I think Austin Mack, for example, is going to be a guy probably hits the portal and he's a starter somewhere next year. And I would expect he probably plays pretty well, So, but again, it comes down to upside. It comes down, and I think with Bama specifically, guys, they have question marks that the first two we talked about don't necessarily have in the standpoint of offensive line and run game. And what in the world is the run game going to look like? Yeah. Of the two options, Keelan Russell gives you a wrinkle in the run game you just wouldn't have otherwise, right? Like I think it came down to, again, Austin Mack checks every box in practice, does what they ask. But when they get in those team periods and you get 11 on 11 and the bullets are flying, Keelan Russell can just do some things that, Austin Mack, as hard as he tried, or anybody else on that roster, they just can't do it, right? So I think he's going to help their running game significantly. I think he's going to be asked to run the football. I think he's going to be able to keep defenses off balance. Again, you look at the weapons he has to work with. I think he's got a fantastic receiver room because I think Ryan Coleman-Williams will have a bounce-back season. Lotsier Brooks is a really nice player. They've got some other dudes as well, Rico Scott, some other dudes ready to step up. Again, what's their big question? Offensive line, running game. They just lost A.K. Deere for an extended period of time. Is it going to be E.J. Crowell? I mean, they might have Keelan Russell, a sophomore that's barely played at all, and E.J. Crowell next to him, a five-star freshman. So they could be very, very young in the backfield, but extremely talented as well. So, again, I think that's what it came down to. Keelan Russell, Austin Mack did everything they asked, but Keelan Russell, dynamic game changer. And I think when a competition's close, those are the guys you have to side with.
Chris, let me ask you about Arkansas. With them choosing their quarterback, is that just a stopgap guy? Do they think he's got some talent. He's able to move around and stuff. He has some inconsistencies. Is that them just let's survive a year and then let's go recruit, or let's go to the portal and get a dynamic player that will maybe come here just to be in the SEC? Because they don't have a lot, but I think he's a pretty talented kid.
Yeah, Buck. I mean, I think that's all going to depend on how he plays. It's tough to say, man, because I think this is the quarterback certainly that's in the most difficult position. I thought it was going to be KJ Jackson, of course. AJ Hill was intriguing because he was a Memphis transfer who followed Ryan Field. But seeing him, I got to see him firsthand in KJ Jackson, that is in Austin last year. And I know it was in garbage time, but you could kind of see the potential, and he did some nice things late in the game, and has some athleticism, of course. But I mean, listen, this, Buck. I mean, you're always trying to recruit that guy's replacement, but especially when it's your first year. I mean, I think ideally the thought process is this is going to be my worst team. This group of players, all due respect, we're recruiting above everybody. We're trying to replace everybody to get better. So But here's the thing. I think KJ Jackson has enough ability to where this could be not a stopgap situation, and he just be more so this is the first quarterback of the Ryan Silverfield era. But it's all going to depend on how he plays, and he's going to have to be at his very best, because I do think it's a tough situation he's in. I know he's got Braylon Russell at running back, but there's just not a lot of pop and pizzazz on the offensive side that makes you think that he's going to have a best friend in regards to target on the outside that's going to make his life very easy.
Yeah, I can see him running for his life and running the ball way too much for a young guy like that.
Yeah, keeping him healthy, will be priority number 1 too. So, I don't know that I'd refer to him as stopgap, but it's just, it's really hard to project him having a big season with just the lack of help around him.
Right.
Arkansas is in a stopgap decade right now.
Good way to put it.
Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. I don't know why I keep saying like 3 quarterback battles. There's way more than that. And the last one I'm going to ask you about, CP, is Vanderbilt.
Hey, I swung and missed on this one.
I think we all did. Like, I'm not going to hold this one against you. Earlier this morning, Vanderbilt announced that Blaze Berlowitz.
That
sounds like a creative player name in NCAA football. He gets the nod over the 5-star freshman, the number 1 quarterback in America, the Georgia flip, Jared Curtis. I feel like Blaze Berlowitz is already the most hated man in Nashville, CP, where you live. Your thoughts on that? Like, is that an indictment on Jared Curtis? Is this, hey, it's a true freshman? Like, we're treating this like a rookie quarterback. We'll give him a couple of games before we bring him in. Your thoughts on this decision out of Vandy?
Yes, stunning. I think to myself, though, I don't feel like I should be that surprised, because this was one, weirdly enough, that just reading up on some of the reports, like the longer it lingered and the way Clark Lee was talking about it, I was like, it's almost like he doesn't feel all that convinced in Jared Curtis. It's stunning because I had a couple of Vandy buddies on. Shout out to the Door Report guys. If you are looking for Vandy content, they're the best. But I had them on, we did our fall camp intel series, and I talked fall camp with them. And I mean, guys, they were adamant to me that they would be shocked if it wasn't Jared Curtis, and they would be disappointed. And their reactions this morning have been, one in particular from one of my buddies says that Clark Lee is a coward. And I'm like, well, how quickly things have turned from him winning double-digit games to now, I suppose. So, yeah, this one's kind of hard to wrap your brain around. Listen, I know Blaze Berlowitz, the thing he has, he's been with Tim. He's kind of like the Austin Mack in this situation. Been with Tim Beck for a while, knows the offense like the back of his hand. I'm sure he checks every single box and knows exactly what Tim Beck and Clark Lee want on the offensive side. But I just thought, hey, this is why Jared Curtis came to Vandy. It was to play immediately. And here's the deal in these kind of situations. You can start – I'm sensitive to the fact that a young quarterback's confidence is so important, right? Like, the last thing you want to do, certainly, is say his first start, throw him to the Wolves at Georgia, and have his confidence shot for the rest of the year if he goes out there and gets roughed up, which he probably would. But to me, it's just like you can start Jared Curtis here, and if you started him and he struggled, you always got Blaze Berlowitz waiting in the wings. You start Blaze Berlowitz. If he struggles, I think you lose a lot of trust with the fan base. Now, does Clark Lee care about that? I don't know, right? But I was stunned. Yeah, I'm stunned to say the very least. I don't think it's some indictment on Jared Curtis. I think it's just, here's the deal. Vanderbilt runs a very unique system. We know that. I mean, Texas played them in the last 2 years. Y'all know, it's a very wacky offense. So maybe there's something to, like, a guy like Blaze Berlowitz has been in that system for so long that he's able to run that in a more efficient manner. But at the same time, guys, I think the reason I was told the reason Jared Curtis came to Vandy was because he was told by Georgia he would have no shot to compete for the QB1 job this year, which, no duh, Gunnar Stockton, right?
Yeah.
But we came to Vandy. I thought for sure, I think Vandy fans will be able to swallow a 5-7 or 6-6 season if it comes with Jared Curtis at the helm. This is our future.
Because they're going to want to try to run. They'll try to run the ball and run the clock out, Chris.
If it's Blaze Berlowitz, I don't think so. I do not think so. Here's the weird thing too. To me, it's a matter of when, not if, Jared Curtis supplants Blaze Berlowitz as a starter. I mean, they already said too they're both going to play in week 1. I mean, what do you? I don't know what you gain. And here's the deal too. Like, I believe they open with Austin Peay and they have Delaware in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think you can. And then you got week 3 NC State, which is a big one. I don't know that you can necessarily use what you see in those 2 games as reasoning like Jared Curtis should be the starter. It's like performances against 2 inferior opponents are going to tell you who the better option is when you've had all of fall camp and all of spring to determine that already. Like, I don't know. It's odd to say the least, but we'll see. I mean, I do think Jared Curtis at some point this season, if he didn't take over as QB1, I would be utterly shocked.
Yeah, we'll see what happens for sure. Chris, great stuff. A lot to get to today. We appreciate your time. SEC Unfiltered. Y'all be sure to follow them on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, across all social media platforms as well.
Hey, BK, really quick. Don't mean to cut you off. You're not worried, are you, about the Arch Manning stuff?
No, I'm not worried about the Arch Manning stuff, but
that's exactly what somebody who is worried would say.
And since we got you, Chris, your thoughts. You've been around the SEC. You know enough about football that summertime means defenses are going to win. When you have scrimmages, defenses win probably 70% of those deals, 80% of those deals. It just happens that way. It's much easier to say go sick them than to know which guy you have when they make a move, you know?
Bucky sounds nervous, CP.
Hey, listen, I'm not hitting the panic button on Arch Manning.
No.
They come out there and struggle against Texas State, I will hit the panic button.
Yes.
I will hit the panic button if they struggle against Texas State. But
absolutely.
I try to take it with a grain of salt, but I mean, I find it fascinating. I mean, I know the A&M and OU people have had a field day. They've been making up nonsense. But, you know, when you got respected Texas folks who cover the team coming out and saying, hey, like, you know, at this scrimmage, I just want to see the quarterback make easy throws and easy completions. You're like, shit, okay. I mean, thought we were past that. I don't know. I mean, and then all of a sudden you're like, maybe those one-handed catches Cam Coleman was making, like, maybe we should be talking more about those throws and them catches. I'm going to be on the side of things to say that we're talking about practice, man, like AI once said. Not a game. We're talking about practice. And I saw Arch Manning at the end of last season. Again, if he goes out against Texas State and looks wobbly, then I'll have some major concerns. But I'm not hitting the panic button yet.
I agree with you.
He's playing.
Hey, Stark told us he had a great camp for what it's worth.
He did. He's playing possum, CP. He wants you to think.
Maybe this is like coming from the inside. This is a Will Muschamp brought this over from Kirby. It's a master class of like, let's put out something where Sark can go back in the locker room and tell Arch, like, everybody thinks you're terrible. So then he can like hey, everybody's picking us to go 7-5. It's the Georgia effect.
I like that. Hey, it's the opposite of last year. Everyone was praising Arch. This year, Arch
not only is he not going to win the Heisman, but let's also hype up the backup that he's going to take his job.
KJ Lacey, come on down. Quarterback controversy in Austin. Oh, man. CP, you're the man. Great stuff, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, y'all the best, guys. Really appreciate
it. Thanks, Chris.
You too. There he goes. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. Again, YouTube, podcast, social media platforms covering the entire SEC. Quarterback controversy brewing in Austin, Buck. Arch Manning doesn't have it. KJ Lacey, watch out for him.
Once Arch Manning starts to take off with the ball under his arm and gets himself into a rhythm, everything will be just fine. First time that guy runs for 45 yards, the passing and everything else, all this stuff is going to fall right into place where you thought it should be.
Well, I will agree with CP on this. If Arch does struggle against Texas State, there are going to be some folks pressing the panic button.
Oh, for sure.
Number 1, Ohio State in town 7 days later.
Absolutely.
I think Arch is going to throw for 5 touchdowns and run for another one or something like that against the Bobcats, and all will be well. All right. Well, we'll dive back into Texas football. You and I have to give our thoughts on what's happening at LSU and the Big Ten's announcement this morning. And we've got some sound from Lane Kiffin to get to as well. No shame at all for the Lane train. No surprise there. But before we continue the college football conversation on a Tuesday, how about a few more sponsored shout-outs?
Folks, our friends at Relax the Back have zero-gravity recliners that await you, Tempur-Pedic pillows, mattresses, office chairs, plus, folks, they've got everything that you're looking for when it comes to accessories to make your neck, your shoulders, your lumbar, your thoracic area feel good. Take them up on some of those accessories. If you're not inclined to get a recliner, be inclined to get an accessory that's going to help you out if you've got some pains. We've got 2 great locations. One is in BK's at the Hill Country Galleria and in North Austin at the Gateway Shopping Center. It's right across the street from Container Store. Live pain-free like the Buck at Relax the Back.
Yes, indeed. Also love the audio-visual consultations. You know, you hear us talk about AV consultations all the time. How about a word from Tom McKay over at AV Consultations?
Scientific data proves it. Size does matter. Oh. Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. The bigger and wider your television is, the better it'll please your senses. Summer is here, and the time is now to get everything tuned up and ready. New big screen TVs, projection video, indoor and outdoor surround sound, all the goodies at great prices and followed up with great service. So give us a call at 512-255-8678, 512-255-8678, or online at avconsultations.com.
Our good friends at Hat Creek Burger, it's always going to be a place with good food, good folks, and a whole lot of fun. Great playgrounds available for the kids and happy hour for the adults at Hat Creek Burger. Over 30 locations in the state of Texas and still growing as a matter of fact. You're going to love the burgers, the fries, and the great shakes that they have, chicken sandwiches, queso fries, the whole works. Hat Creek Burger Company, folks, there's something for everyone at Hat Creek Burger.
Oh, yes, indeed. Go to hatcreekburgers.com for more information. And, I was at Hat Creek, when was it? I guess Sunday when I got back in town. And I saw that they've got a new limited time only offering on the menu. How about the classic Cubano, Buck?
Cubano sandwich?
Sliced ham.
Oh, yeah.
Breaded pork, Swiss cheese, and pickle slices, topped with mojo sauce and happy sauce, served on a pressed Martin's potato bun.
Ooh.
Very interesting. I love the burgers at Hat Creek. I love the chicken at Hat Creek. Now, when I tried the chicken for the first time, I was a little nervous, and I was like, oh, wait, this is good. Now we got a little Cuban sandwich going on at Hat Creek.
It's going to be interesting because I'm not a pickles on my food guy. I'm a pickles on the side guy.
You're a pickles in your mouth guy, but not in your mouth guy, correct?
No. I'm very careful how I deal with my pickles.
Yeah, your pickle and other people's pickles.
Yes, I'm very careful about the pickle.
So check that famous quote. Put that on a shirt. Check that out at Hat Creek Burger Company. Speaking of shirts, we got new merch coming, y'all. New hats, new shirts, koozies, a lot coming your way and our way this season. Thanks to our friends at Waterloo Printing and Graphics. If you have a business that needs stuff, reach out to Adam and his team. If you've got tailgate parties, you want your own koozies, your own hats, your own shirts, maybe the apron if you're the guy doing barbecue, whipping up the food at your tailgates, and you want everyone to know who you are. Waterloo Printing and Graphics, they do it all. All you have to do is reach out to Adam directly, call him or text him. Huge Longhorn fan, great freaking guy. He's become a great friend over the years. 512-300-9641. That's his cell. Or you can shoot him a DM on Instagram at Waterloo Printing.
Love the folks at Waterloo Printing.
Yes, indeed. All right, Buck. We'll dive back into the college football conversation. I guess it's time for another edition of
Where Are We At in Society Today?
Where are we at in college sports today? And we kind of start today's conversation as a follow-up from yesterday's conversation. It sure feels like LSU is the most hated school in America right now. I think a couple of months ago when all the Brendan Sorsby stuff was going on, Texas Tech was public enemy number one. And ironically enough, Buck, I remember Cody Campbell a couple of months ago coming out and saying, well, if any of this stuff was happening at LSU, nobody would care. Well, he was clearly wrong because this type of stuff is happening at LSU and everybody cares. Everyone's dunking on the Bayou Bengals and they deserve it. We talked about the football story yesterday, right? Former Cleveland Browns tight end Daquan Wright has agreed to sign with LSU, assuming he clears waivers after being let go by the Browns yesterday. He went undrafted, signed multiple undrafted free agent deals this offseason. He is suited up in preseason games, and it's not the first time LSU has done something like this. There's a couple of players who have been in NFL camps that they brought back. There are reports saying that they're going to cut some of the players that they have right now currently on their roster in order to make room for more NFL guys if they get the chance.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Here was Lane Kiffin yesterday. This is the very opening of his Monday media availability. He knew the question was coming. He got out in front of it. Here's Lane talking about recruiting all of these professional athletes.
No idea what your first question is. All right, so I'll beat you to it. So, we have, made a decision to recruit some kids around the country. And, through these multiple injunctions around the country, which this is not a first time, they've been in college sports for a while, a group of players were granted a fifth year of eligibility around the country in multiple sports. And through them winning their injunction and entry into the portal, they're available to recruit. And so ourselves, like many places around the country, are recruiting them. And at the end of the day, because of these rulings, they're either going to play for you or they're going to play somewhere else around the country. So we've made a decision to recruit them like probably most people are.
Yeah, not most people, Lane. But, yeah, there's no right or wrong with him. It's only right. That's the way he sees things. I was, a couple of weeks ago when Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame gave us the old, we can't accept those fifth-year guys now. We have already kind of started school. The way he did it even sounded to me like if he could, he would. And that's coming from a guy who's at Notre Dame. I'm like, wait a minute, just the way you said that sounds like if we could, if we hadn't started school, if those guys were available, we would take them. I mean, some of these coaches with their jobs on the line and the kind of money that they're making, BK, they have now, it's to the point of, making it to the playoffs should be enough to keep my job. These guys are looking to do anything to keep their jobs. Yeah. It's not right or wrong with them anymore. It's not like these factors that, that's just wrong, coach. You would, 15 years ago in your mind, you wouldn't even think about doing something like that, having some guy come from professional football back and playing on your campus. You just say, no, that's not it. But now, because of the nature of your job and what's going on, you forget the right and wrong part of it. It's because it's just wrong.
Is Lane Kiffin already that desperate? He just got to LSU. It's his first year. Does he already need to do stuff like this? Like win at all costs?
I just think there's a lot of coaches around the country that as he said, we'll be doing this. But it's a shame.
But because I don't know if there are a lot of coaches around the country that will be doing this, because we're only talking about this exact thing with LSU right now. So you could say that everyone else is doing this. Yeah,
I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying there will be some that will.
No, Lane is saying that everybody else is doing this, and that's just clearly not the case right now. So,
I mean, if the commissioner of the Big Ten is saying we will not be doing this, I'm waiting for like you said, the SEC commissioner to say the exact same thing. We're done doing this. Because they're not going to stop LSU. They've got that restraining order that just says they can do it. I don't know if that gets changed. If that gets changed, then the commissioner needs to say this is it, or at least say it before you go to court.
Well, the SEC,
say that it's wrong.
It's different. It's like no one knows who's in charge right now. So it's the courts in Louisiana who are approving all of these players and giving them extra eligibility. So the courts are ahead of the SEC in terms of the power structure right now. But the SEC did release a statement last night saying college athletes, not former professional athletes, have been at the heart of the Southeastern Conference. Individuals who choose to leave college, sign professional playing contracts, and compete professionally should not then be permitted to return to college competition. Allowing that to occur will blur the line between college and professional sports, create significant competitive equity concerns, and reduce opportunities for high school and current college athletes. College sports are for college athletes. The current confusion around national eligibility standards emphasizes the need to advance the Protect College Sports Act, end quote. Everything about that statement is great until the last sentence, where the SEC says, the current confusion around national eligibility standards emphasizes the need to advance the Protect College Sports Act. Instead of coming out and doing what the Big Ten reportedly did this morning, where they're like, we're going to pass a rule that says this is not allowed. The SEC is like, don't blame us. We're not going to do it. We want this rule passed. We're trying to get this rule passed. We want somebody else to fix our problems. That's the reason this is going on. We're not going to do this ourselves. And it's like, you as a conference can potentially at least try to say, we're not going to allow this to happen, and they're not doing it right now.
Yeah, why didn't the NCAA, I mean, I know they're not forward thinking anyway. When they said about this fifth-year eligibility, why weren't they thinking ahead of this that people are going to try anything they can when you say a fifth year? These
are different. That fifth year in this is different. Like, I'm okay with 5 for 5. I'm not okay with, I think the Marcus Freeman quote you're talking about is in relation to 5 for 5. Which that's a rule change in college sports that I agree with. Now, the confusion this offseason is you've got players in the recruiting class of 2022 saying, hey, this isn't going to help me. To me, that's different. I think that's also annoying and confusing, but that's different than signing pro contracts and returning to college football.
No, that's not kosher at all anyway, period. Once you sign and you're on a pro camp, you went to camp, you should be done.
Right.
Period.
I feel that way about Cole Hudson at Texas. Now, I think Cole Hudson's going to be a third-string offensive lineman for the Longhorns this year. But he signed with a couple of different teams in the offseason. He's now on the Texas roster. I don't think that should be allowed either. Like, it's ridiculous what's going on. Once you sign a professional contract,
right,
you can't even explore the draft. You can't even go through the pre-draft stuff and try to come back to college. Now you can play in preseason games and return to school. What are we doing here?
Yeah, by the way, you've collected some checks from them too.
Yeah, you've collected some checks from the pros. And LSU, by the way, it's not just football. In basketball, they have signed and granted an injunction to a player who had signed multiple NBA contracts with RJ Luis Jr., who was the Big East Player of the Year 2 seasons ago, went undrafted.
These aren't fairness. These are just common sense deals. It seems like.
Right. It's just common sense. And because, again, you could just pay off your local judge to rule in your favor. You could say, well, there's no rules here. We can do whatever we want. There's no rules. Don't blame us. We're just doing this because no one's telling us we can't. But it's ridiculous. Like, former NFL players, former NBA players are now playing college sports again.
LeBron coming to UT.
Well, hang on. Rules for thee, not for me. Give me LeBron here at Tech. No,
there you go.
Maybe that's next. I don't know. LeBron hadn't played any college yet. He's got 5 years of eligibility, right? It's just, I don't know what the opposing view of this is. It's common sense. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants this to happen. Once you sign a pro contract, once you start making money as a professional athlete,
right,
that's it. Your college career is over. If you want to turn down the draft, if you want to turn down the draft like Trinidad Chambliss did and stay in, fine, you can do that. You've always had the ability to return to college for another year if you have eligibility. You can't all of a sudden be able to sign pro contracts, suit up in preseason games, and then say, well, maybe I'm not good enough to play here, so let me go back to college where I am good enough to play.
So if you're a 27-year-old, 28-year-old guy that played in the pros, you hit the waiver wire in the middle of the season, college football is in game 6, you can then leave and go to a college and play?
I don't think that's off the table. You might be saying that facetiously, but at this point, I don't know. You know, like, there's going to be a lot of guys getting cut from NFL rosters, and they're not just players who didn't play college football last year. These are guys who've been in the league for a while who might be like, well, why don't I try my hand at that? I mean, hell, you got Enes Kanter trying to play in the WNBA. You got all these guys trying to play in different sports leagues right now. Why not an NFL player who gets cut saying, let me go back to college this year? I don't know.
Gosh.
I don't know when it ends. How many times have we asked that question about college sports?
It's something new every day. It's then, like you said, we're getting ready to be close to the start of the season, but there's something new every day.
I'd be saying this if I thought Texas was going to suck this year. There are years in the past where it's like, I don't think Texas is going to be very good. And it's like, maybe I'm okay with the season not starting yet, so I don't get ticked off every single Saturday because my favorite team isn't playing very well. I would be saying this even if I thought the Longhorns are going to be awful this year. I have never been so ready for the actual games to start. I was hoping by the time we got to fall camp, we got games this Saturday, Buck. I was hoping by the time we got to week 0 that we'd be able to just talk about the football itself, position battles and matchups and analyzing and predicting. We're still talking about all this nonsense. Here we are 4 days before the official start of the actual season, and this is still going on. Yeah,
I mean, and Greg Sankey needs to be, that guy's supposed to be more of a leader. I don't know what happened over the last 3 or 4 years. That guy, he's not. He's just waiting. He's not proactive at all. He's just he's just waiting.
Well, part of the conversation about the Big Ten surpassing the SEC as the best conference in college football, I mean, obviously a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Big Ten's won 3 straight national championships. But part of it also feels like the Big Ten is running college football from a power standpoint. We talked about this with Chris Phillips earlier. It's like, it feels like the Big Ten is calling the shots and the SEC is just kind of following. They're reacting. Where it felt like for years, it was the SEC making the first move and then everybody else, all right, the SEC, the big bad SEC is doing this, so now we got to follow suit. It's almost like Greg Sankey got Texas and Oklahoma He got so much praise for that, and he just
Yes.
kind of kicked his feet up and said, yeah, I'm good. I've done enough here. And the Big Ten, with Tony Petitti, give him credit. He's like, nah, we're going to call the shots now. You want the playoff to expand to this? Well, we want it to this, so it's going to stay where it is. We're going to make the rules here. We want you guys to play 9 SEC games, so do it. In the SEC, they bend the knee, and they do it. Like, I don't know what happened with this conference. It felt like for so long when Texas wasn't in it that, again, they were calling all of the shots. They were the power broker. And now it's just like they seem scared to do anything because I don't know the reason.
It's not good. It's not good when you're not talking football, when you're talking about pros becoming college players, flipping it back around, going the other way. It's nuts.
Yeah. And when the games start this weekend, my fear is that we're not only going to be talking about the games, we're still going to be talking about this kind of nonsense.
Yeah, and as pro guys get cut, they're going to be taken off and headed back to college, headed back to campus.
Why not? Hell, some of these guys make more money in college than they do in the NFL. So why would you rather play in the NFL? I'd rather play in college these days. It's crazy. So there you go. There's the latest there with LSU. Lane Kiffin says everyone's doing it, even though not everyone's doing it.
No, Lane, you're doing it.
Lost Shame University is what I called them yesterday. I don't know if they've ever had shame. Maybe they didn't have any left to lose, Buck. All right, we'll take your thoughts. The Coda text line, 512-222-9328. The YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch chats are rocking and rolling as well. We'll get to the BBK news in a moment, but any more sponsor shout-outs for you, my friend?
No, I'm good. I'm good. You got to talk about the good doctor.
Dr. Chad.
Oh, Dr. Chad, yes.
Sleep Cycle Center. If you have trouble sleeping, falling asleep, staying asleep, maybe you snore. Hell, maybe you have trouble sleeping because your partner snores. You need to send them to the good doctor, Dr. Chad. Sleep.
I'm going to send that dog to the good doctor because he's starting to snore, being 9 years old.
Send that. Oh, no.
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
That's already the loudest dog ever when he's
awake.
Oh,
my God.
Now you're saying when he's sleeping, he's loud too?
Yeah, he's over with his mom over there. And I know it's not her, but I have to say something to him because she can't hear me anyway. But the dog hears me and he quiets down. But I'm talking to the dog at 2 a.m. Zach, be quiet.
Maybe take that dog to the farm. That might be where you need to take him.
Take him for a little ride out in the country?
Yeah, sorry about that, Zach. Well, no. Dr. Chad, he helps humans with their sleep. And if you or someone you know has had a problem with their sleep lately, don't put it off any longer. Your sleep is the most important thing that you do. Get it taken care of. More than 22 million Americans have undiagnosed sleep apnea. I say it all the time. NFL Hall of Famer Reggie White lost his life in his sleep. Why? Undiagnosed sleep apnea. It is not just annoying. It can be a serious health risk. Get it taken care of. Free consultations for listeners of Bucky and BK. And $100 off at-home sleep studies for listeners of Bucky and BK. SleepCycleCenters.com for more info. Go check out their 2 Austin area locations as well. And shout out to Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. All these college sports conversations are making me want an ice-cold Altstadt Beer. Whether you're drinking to celebrate or just drinking to forget, Altstadt Beer is perfect for any occasion. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. It's award-winning stuff from an award-winning brewery that has been named Brewery of the Year in the state of Texas on 2 separate occasions here in 2026. Get down to the Altstadt Brewery in Fredericksburg if you've never been, but you don't have to go that far to enjoy the greatness that is Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets. All right. Real quick, shout out to the Texas Rangers, Buck, who destroyed the Chicago White Sox last night to move into sole possession of first place in the god-awful American League West. The Texas Rangers are 66-66 on the season, Buck, and they are in first place in their division.
What a conference. Yeah, man. Nice division there.
Your Yankees are 18 games over 500 and are 3.5 games back of first place right now. The Houston Astros, by the way, had the night off last night, so they're a half game behind the Jers. the Astros open up a 3-game series in New York against your Yankees this evening.
Very nice.
So there you go. There's a little baseball talk for you. And shout out to Texas volleyball. The Longhorns bounced back from a season-opening loss on Saturday with a 5-set win over Marquette last night.
Yeah, and you're talking about, what's his name, Ennis Canner. I saw him with his T-shirt on the other day. No, dude, you can't go play with the girls. I don't care what you want to be, what you thought you should be, or how you thought you could be. You can't go play with girls. Sorry, dude. Go to the game, sit there with your T-shirt. Don't be messing with those. Let those ladies play their game, please.
Yep.
That is so disturbing.
Yeah, that's going on right now in the WNBA. It's boy, no disrespect to the W, but I had this problem with the WNBA. We talked about it a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
When the off-field / off-court stuff is the only thing you talk about, probably not good for the league. Means that maybe the actual sport isn't worth talking about. College football has a lot of that going on. And again, once the games start, a lot of it's going to go away.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have that excuse because they're towards the end of their regular season. And all everybody wants to talk about is a former NBA player trying to play in their league. But yeah, that's a mess right now. You know what else is a mess? San Francisco 49ers owner Jed York.
Oh, Jed.
He was arrested yesterday. And there's never really a good time to get arrested. There's never really like a good charge that comes along with being arrested. But if you're power ranking the charges you want to be associated with, I would say engaging in prostitution is probably pretty low on the list if you are a public figure.
You know, that line of business has been around for a long, long time in this world.
Yeah.
I mean, was he partaking in a prostitute, or was he having a ring? Was he gathering a gaggle of prostitutes to go out and about? Was he Pete Diddying, or was he just out for a night of frolicking around? What is that coming out to be?
Well, as of now, it doesn't seem like it's a P. Diddy situation, thankfully. San Francisco 49ers owner Jed York pleaded no contest to a pair of misdemeanor charges yesterday after being arrested in Ohio on suspicion of engaging in prostitution. York allegedly responded to an undercover ad on a pro website and arranged to have sexual activity with a female in exchange for $140, Buck.
He's got a lot of money. You go for 140. That's not going to be that great, I got to believe.
I was curious what the going rate of something like that would cost in the state of Ohio, you know.
It is Ohio. Let's think. It is Ohio. So
if you're in Vegas, you're paying something, you know, depending on the quality of the person that you're trying to engage with, if you will. There's a different going rate. So I've been told. I don't know this from experience, dude. But in Ohio, I guess it's $140. He was arrested upon arriving at the meeting location with the cell phone that he used to engage the meeting.
That's a smart guy. You sucker.
So, yeah, he got by an undercover act. No, this is not a ring. No, this is nothing as crazy as Epstein.
Okay.
Diddy, at least not now. And hopefully this is all that comes out for this story. But, yeah, the billionaire owner.
Some dudes are going to be dudes.
The billionaire owner, I guess, has to go that route to try to get his you-know-what. Buck.
Yeah, well, for $140, he should have known something was up. Then again, he said, "Hey, I'm in Ohio. I'm not out in the Bay Area."
Hey, there are some desperate folk out there, man.
Yes, there is.
You could probably get what he was trying to get for less.
Probably.
I'll always wonder what Patriots owner Bob Kraft was paying at that Orchids of Asia day spa in Florida a few years ago.
I'm going to Robert Kraft was going more than 140.
You think so? Just for an R&T at a massage parlor?
Yeah, because that has not really come to real light yet. That's been kind of kept down enough that guy's still the owner and everything's still working in his favor. He's got the coin. So he made that go away pretty. He made it go away pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, maybe it's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame right now, but he's still the owner of the New England Patriots, and the case was dropped, and we never saw the actual footage of that incident, which is disappointing. I was hoping to see that, you know.
They always tell you how they have footage of it, but you never see it. Where's the footage? Come on. It really wasn't me until you show me the footage.
It was deleted. It was thrown away.
Yeah.
That's what the Patriots do, you know. Anytime someone's going after them for cheating, they find a way to eliminate any look that they were doing anything wrong.
Yeah, the ball boy or whoever handles the balls knows exactly what to do.
Oh, whoever handles the balls. Yeah, that was the Orchids of Asia Day Spa who was handling the balls.
Yes.
I believe that's what you're talking about right there. So, hey, these billionaires are just like us, man. Trying to make it happen. Trying to get it.
Trying to get it for $140. I'm like, wow. Something would go off in my mind. When my assistant came back and said, hey, boss, it's only going to cost you $140. I'd be like, what?
I was curious what Jed York was doing in Ohio. That's where he's from. By the way, he's a Notre Dame guy, Buck. I know you'll get a kick out of that.
Oh, great.
But
that's even better.
That guy, like, billionaire, he can't just go back home and, like, he doesn't just have a Rolodex or a roster of chicks who are ready to go. He's got to go to the classifieds.
I guess when you don't have it, you just don't have it. It doesn't. Money can't buy you love, you know.
Well, money bought him a ticket to jail.
He went to jail. $140 hooker. Nice.
$140 pro.
Wow.
I got to get me to Ohio. I mean, never mind. That'll do it for this show.
I got him in the dumbass Hall of Fame really quickly.
Oh, you're putting him in the Hall?
I mean, that's part of the dumbass for $140. Come on.
You know, that needs to be a new bit on this show, the dumbass Hall of Fame.
Oh, I mean, you can go up to Harry Hines and get a better deal than that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You kidding me?
It's not going to cost you $140, is it?
Harry Hines, you got a $5 bill, and you're getting at least something.
Oh, my God.
That's the way it used to be up there in the Metroplex. I don't know.
Things have changed. Inflation.
Heard it from a friend. But, yeah, with inflation and gentrification and those other Asian things, I don't know if that's still the going rate up there. But, hey, Texas OU in a couple of months, I'll get somebody to report.
Get a report on that.
Get some. Hey, some of our great listeners are up in the Metroplex. Maybe they can let us know what's going on the great Harry Hines Boulevard up there. All right, well, that'll do it for a Tuesday show. God, there's so much more to get to, BBK news-wise and NFL-wise and college football-wise. It's 2 hours almost isn't enough these days, but that will do it for this one. We'll be back tomorrow. Chip Brown will join us, our weekly conversation with our Texas Longhorns insider. More takeaways and practice nuggets from what's going on down on the 40 acres, more NFL chat. We've got plenty more to get to coming your way tomorrow, but that will do it for a Tuesday. Great show, my friend.
Same to you, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Chris Phillips for joining us. Most importantly, thanks to you people for tuning in. And, of course, shout out to all of our sponsors for allowing all of this to be possible. We will talk to y'all on a Wednesday. Y'all have a good Tuesday.
Welcome.